So mindfulness with your habits is about the habits that we know we have and the habits that we don't know we have. And we are going to learn how to identify those, right? Because we know about if you are a smoker, that's a habit, right? If you drink, or if you exercise, or if you have, like, we know those habits because we do it every day and we are very aware of those. Usually we are aware of the ones that are physical habits, right? Things that we can control, that we can touch, we know, we see. And then there is other habits that we are less aware, and we are going to talk about the difference in between and how to address ones or the other ones. But because we are not going to share those habits, everybody will make lists of what some things that we will be talking, and it's just for you. We are not sharing anything. We are really stingy here. Not sharing. Okay, so every behavior is everything we do is a behavior, and every behavior is a habit. Is that clear? Right? Like, usually what we do, we repeat the same way that we do things, or we behave in certain ways, and it can be physically or it can be emotionally, right? When we are, let's think about a baby, right? When we think about a baby, everybody loves babies. Who doesn't love babies, right?
Nothing.
You don't like them? But like, yes, it's really hard for somebody to hate a baby without, and it's for one reason. Who thinks that knows the reason why we love babies?
The innocence.
That will be a reason. What else? Well, the main reason is because they are authentic, right? Like, there is no weird stuff in between. They behave the way they feel all the time. There is no manipulation. There is not trying to sneak something here and there. If they are happy, they do nothing, or smile, or they cool. But if they are angry, or they are hungry, or if something is wrong, or their diaper is wet, or whatever, they cry. And we are very clear, or they are happy or they are unhappy, right? So humans and adults, we learn along the way. I mean, like, little kids do too, right? Like, when we are little, we learn really quick how to lie, right? Like, I have one of my clients' daughters, she is like 5 years old, and she's a professional liar. Like, you guys, it's really interesting to see that, right? And I didn't remember how long, how long ago was that I learned how to lie, but I was very impressed. I mean, like, kids right now are really smart, and they are kind of more growing up, like, from day one. Like, they can trick you into something. I mean, it wasn't lying, like, professionally trying to trick you with something, like, it was like an innocent lie, but still they know how to manipulate from very early age. We all do that. And when we are adults, we learn how to do that from a higher perspective, right? Like, we have the knowledge, we had a lot of experiences, and if we are hurt, if we are happy, we learn how to confuse one thing with the other one, right? Like, we might be really unhappy or very upset, and we can be yelling in that face and turn around and smile and fake like everything is fine, right? Who has done that? Anybody? Come on.
Not sharing.
Good. See? Somebody's listening.
Yeah, someone's listening.
So,
I'm gonna write that down.
So I would like for you to list the things that you know you are doing that are physically, like eating or drinking or smoking or, I don't know, high risk exercises or sport or whatever. Like a few things that you can think of that you are doing right now that you can relate as a habit. Either good or bad. because we have good habits, right? Like going exercising, or you know, like having
So writing the good ones or the bad ones?
all of it, either one.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Like write a few that are good and a few that are bad. It's just to distinguish what we are going to do afterwards. Does anybody have at least 5? Good or bad? 3? Total? Well, you have way more than that.
I have 5.
Good. And there is both ways, good and bad? Yeah? Okay.
So
Okay, Karen?
Yeah.
Good and bad?
Mhm.
Okay, just make sure that there is both.
yeah.
So when we are, oh, you are still working. Go ahead. You are working. You are good? Good? You didn't come up with anything?
I got 5.
Okay. So if you look to your list right now and you look the unhealthy habits that you have, you most likely know what to do to change it, right? Like, let's say, who of you, and without saying what it is, who of you thought about that the answer will be change the habit completely? Who thought about that one?
Like stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
who thought about adding one habit on top of it instead of changing, instead of quitting?
So to counter it?
So what happens with habits, and this is why I want to get you here. So when we are talking about habits, is every habit is a behavior. Every behavior is a neuropathway. Neuropathway in our brain. A neuropathway means a pathway in our brain that is being run over and over and over and over to the point that created a habit or a behavior. We cannot delete neuropathways. We don't have a brain eraser that can, or a shaver, we can take something out, right? It's always there. What makes a difference, what helps to change those habits, is to add a new behavior. Let's say if at 5 p.m. is happy hour and we drink, I'm just doing this one because it's the first one that came to my mind. So 5 p.m. happy hour, we are going to drink, and we want to change it. If we quit, most likely will fail sooner or later, and the reason is because the neural pathway underneath is so strong that just deleting these, the only thing that will create is cravings, right? Like we cut it off and now what? So what we want to do is add something on top of it in a way that this one will stop being reinforced. And the one that we will put, it will be different, but it will be at the same time maybe as exciting as it was drinking, right? Maybe in the beginning it doesn't look like, but you know, like we really want to do it. We just have to reinforce the new neural pathway instead of the reinforcing the old one. So there is no way to take an old habit away if we don't add something. That's why people that has really unhealthy eating habits, let's say people that goes to eat junk food all the time, or every Thursday night they go for pizza, right? And then, well, we cannot eat pizza. We want to choose to change our habits. We want to try something different. We want to get healthier. Most likely, it's not going to last time. That's why diets don't work. Don't work because it's a radical change. It's a change out of cutting off everything that you were doing, and your brain cannot change all the information at once. Let's say if you are having junk food every single day and all of a sudden you have none, you have to be very strong willpower, or most likely you will fail. And then we set ourselves to rebound to old habits, and usually they even get worse. So people that is being in diets many years, what happens is they ended up gaining more weight when they go back to eat normal, because they have to calm down that need. And the reason is because they also manage to add not only the unhealthy habit, but when we are doing an unhealthy habit, what we do, we tie an emotion to that habit, right? Like our brain only collects information, retains information if we put an emotion, we link an emotion to the fact. Let's say the brain doesn't think, oh, I need the alcohol because it's 5 p.m. and I haven't had it. No, because most likely that person is not an alcoholic. It's just the brain doesn't need it. What happens is we learned that at 5 p.m. we are out of work, we are happy, we are winding down, we are going to relax, and we need that glass of wine or whatever it is, right? So it's the brain collects all the information, puts all together, and creates that neural pathway. So we are as tied up to the emotion than the act or the fact that we are, or the action that we are doing. Let's put action. Does it make sense? Yeah, Elaine? Mm-hmm. Okay, Karen? Mm-hmm. So when some people get old and they don't like their face in the mirror, what they do is a facelift, right? They go to the surgeon, the plastic surgeon. We couldn't come up with a word this morning. They go to the plastic surgeon and says, stretch this thing because I'm getting wrinkled and I look old, right? There is one thing that is very interesting in our brain, and is when we have an image of ourselves, the most of the time surgery doesn't change the image that we have about ourselves. It changes outside, but you inside, you cannot see it. And that's very hard on people. That's why many plastic surgeons now, they send people to the psychologist afterwards, because the image that they have for themselves is still the image they had before. So if we don't address the emotional core, the physical core, it doesn't matter, right? So we need to do an emotional lift. And those are the ones that I want to talk today, because those are the ones, and the negative emotional habits are the ones that are holding us back to make a decision to quit the ones that we can manage, because we are tied up emotionally to those, right? So when we are, is that clear? Let me summarize this first part. When we want to change a habit, an unhealthy one for a healthy one, instead of cut it off, what we are doing is add something different, right? Like, let's say instead of drinking wine, I will do kombucha at 5 p.m. It's tasty, it's crispy, it's, like it makes you feel like, oh, instead of that, I'm going for a walk for 1 hour. So once that 5 to 6 passed, it doesn't feel like I needed that much. Maybe. But, like, like it's not, if you ask me individually, you can say it will help this or that, but now in general, it can be anything, right? So now what we are going to do is we're going to list, and I will help you with this one because this one is tricky. We are going to list the negative emotions that are a habit. Or a behavior. And let me tell you how it looks like. So it can be very popular between the female population, guiltiness. That can be one. We get attached to feel guilty, and we like that one. Victimism is another one. Shyness, shameful, jealousy, of course, cheating, lying, all those things. And then there is some of them that are kind of corrosive, like we feel miserable, we make sure that somebody else feels miserable, right? Like this kind of behavior that encourages people to feel, like you want to make somebody else feel terrible because you feel bad, right? Some people seem like they feed out of this. This is what we will call about toxic people, like everybody has somebody in their lives or had at some point, people that you have to get rid of because they cause that kind of toxicity on you, right? And then they make you feel in a specific way. So think about that. If you ever had somebody in your life that had this behavior, like is a toxic person, how that person made you feel? Because victimism is one, guiltiness is another one that might make you feel. So these kind of behaviors exacerbates those habits that we already have. Questions? Because you all look very puzzled, except for Karen.
During the headlights.
Huh?
During the headlights.
Questions?
Just keep going, I think.
Okay.
I just need more info.
Yeah? Okay. So, but it's clear what I mean about negative emotions, and because that creates a habit. And it's really hard for us to get rid of it. Because the most of the time, we don't look at that area in our life, right? Like if that's so comfortable, we are there, we know that kind of behavior so well that we don't know how to get rid of it. Those are the ones that clearly hold you back. They make you hostage. You cannot be free with that kind of behavior, and you want to you want to be at least aware what those are, and that way you can do otherwise, because that's the other thing, right? Like we have total control over that. Okay. Does anybody have something besides? I saw Karen writing. Okay, do you have any of those behaviors written down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Did you? I didn't see you writing.
Good. I'm not going to show you from afar.
I cannot read from here. Okay, so any of those behaviors or those habits, where do you think that those habits got created? All of them got created in one place, Karen.
In your brain.
In your thinking, right? In our mind, they get created there. Guess what? We can create another thing that is not that one, right? Because we create positive thinking, positive emotions in the same place that we create the negative ones. right? Like when we have a nasty feeling, like let's say somebody flips the middle finger when you are driving, right? And you think, meh, right? Instead of get angry, you can smile because you will get the same turnout from the other person. That person is gone, doesn't know you, you won't see that person anymore, right? And you will be upset because that person did something not nice to you, totally useless, right? So we can create, in fact, we create from the same place, positively or negatively. And it's our choice every single minute, right? You just need to be aware which ones are. And the most important thing is to start with one. You don't want to change or pay attention to all of them, just one at the time, right? Instead of saying, okay, instead of reacting when this person will say that, instead of reacting like this, I'm going to be aware and I am going to behave differently, because nothing is personal. Those things, the most of them are not personal. You make them personal for you. So imagine that instead of being, because like we feed out of these behaviors and we reinforce them the more we practice them, right? Like the neural pathway of this one, it gets run over and over and over. And the most of the time is not something that we created from adulthood. It's something that we created when we were kids. Like, let's say our parents or school, like my mentor always says, everything starts with your scorecard at school. Report card. The report cards, right? Like they give you the report cards and you are a good student, it's ideal, but the pressure will be there too. But if you are not a really good student and the report cards the score is not good, like they compare you. Parents at home sometimes compare you with your siblings. And then that makes you feel like, insecure. And, like it. And that's when it starts low self-esteem and all of that. So many of those habits are not created in adulthood, right? They are created for survival when we are children. So think about your own and what you want to change, and always one at a time. And in order to do that, we cannot delete that habit because we don't have the eraser, same thing as the other ones. We have to add another one. So we have to force ourselves to think differently. We have to create a new neural pathway and reinforce it to the point that the old one doesn't have strength anymore. Okay, that happens. I mean, like when we people that quit smoking, right? Like people that quit smoking, usually it's really hard to do it like cold turkey and I'm not smoking, not doing anything else. Most people have to go through gum or patches or something, or vaping, which is a very poor excuse, never works. But like something that is a little bit healthier than what they were doing to learn how to step away. So this is the same. Or sugar, you have to do something because sugar's cravings are terrible, right? So the most important thing is awareness. So it's important to know which habits do we have that are so damaging for us. Because any negative thinking or any negative habit doesn't affect anybody else's but ourselves. Right? Like you can be very, very upset with somebody and that person can be really bad or did something really terrible. But if you are upset, that upsetness only affects you, the other person. I mean, you can hit her, but most likely won't happen, right? So I want you to think about one specific, and that one is kind of not really bad, but still not a positive habit, and many people has. And I'm going to say that it's not a really bad habit, but contemplate the possibility of doing it a little bit different, right? Some people practices more, some people not so much. Just if that resonates with you, you just try to do it different. Is being extra nice all the time. You know, like we are angry and we are still trying to, we are so happy, right? Like trying so hard to look good for the outside, and inside we are just having such a hard time, right? Like look at those things and try to do a little, you know, like try to practice with the people that you trust, to have a conversation, to wind it down a little bit, right? Because we already have to do outside this when we are working, right? Like you have to be nice and you have to put a face because that's your job and that's your obligation and it's part of the deal, right? But when you are in your personal life outside, it's just be more authentic with that in that area. Okay, and I know you are not a particularly crowd that has this problem, but it's one of the areas that here, and I say here, I mean United States, that people has a tendency of trying to be really nice all the time. Have you had that experience, or is it just me?
That people are nice or they're not nice?
They are nice. I mean, like they try really hard to be nice all the time.
I think it's that way at work. You know, you're nice to your clients, even
well,
if you
work is mandatory.
I know.
Outside work, it shouldn't be that way. You mean outside you don't have that experience at all?
No, you know I do. Yeah, extra nice to nobody knows but Rocky. Yeah.
Oh, you are one of those.
Ah. Busted.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we all know people that has this kind of behavior, right? Like we hold ourselves, we don't say the truth, we, in order to protect other people, we will keep it for ourselves and then just damaging it. It's not like you have to be nasty. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that it doesn't damage you or hurts you inside because you are trying to put up a face in order to look in
Make
certain,
someone else feel good.
Yeah, look in certain, you know, like there is some people that says whatever they think and they don't care if they hurt somebody, and then you think you should shut your mouth more often, right? But the opposite is also damaging, right? Like a little bit too much, a little bit too little.
Yeah, like if you don't ever speak your mind or
yeah, sometimes it happens. Mm-hmm. Right, sometimes it happens that we try to hold ourselves, and it happens usually with the people that we love the most because you don't want to hurt them, and the opposite way also happens with the people that you love the most because you think that it will be fine, right? So it's all the extremes are not so good. Okay, so let's talk about the mind that manages this whole thing. So far, so good? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, so we talk about the physical habits, right? Like physical habits are the things, I don't know how to say it. If I say physical, I guess you understand. We are going to exercise every day, or we are eating healthy food or unhealthy food, or we are eating bread or sugar, whatever. Physical habits. So we are poking our nose all the time. That will be a habit too. Okay, so physical habits. And then we have the emotional habits. Positive or negative, both ways. if this is our mind, this is our body. So if this is our mind and our mind controls those habits, we have two different minds. No, it's the same mind, it's just divided in two different sections. This one is the conscious mind. And this is the subconscious mind. This is the rational mind, and this is the irrational mind. This is the mind that we think. We think from the conscious mind. We judge, we believe or we don't believe, we like, we don't like, we make decisions from our conscious mind. The subconscious mind is the irrational mind. This mind is a mind that takes everything in without filter. So let's say this one doesn't, that one has a filter. And this one does not have a filter. It takes everything in. So let's say everything that happens since we are born from day one, all the conversations that we hear, all the conversations that are about us, and that we tied up an emotion to that conversation, this mind takes it as it is right now, it is yours, and it is true. It doesn't understand, that conversation might not be yours. Like, let's say your mom is yelling to your sister, and you are hurt because your sister is like in so much distress because she did something, right? And you, that emotion for your subconscious mind makes the connection with the conversation and takes it like it's yours. That's why it causes so much pain for yourself. Not because you empathize with your sister, it's because your mind takes it as it's yours at that moment. And those kind of things are the things that will shape your way of thinking forever. Like every conversation, everything that we do all the way until we die, get storage in our subconscious mind. So when we want to change a habit, we have to tell our subconscious mind, because this is the one that makes it happen. This is the one that tells to this one to make it happen. So we have to create thought, a conscious thought. We have to create a conscious decision that we want to do it. And this one will make it happen because this one believes everything. So if this one tells to this one, you are wonderful, you are beautiful, and you look like $1 million every day in your life, this one will make you see that you do that, you are like that. Because the other way around happens the same. Let's say that you look yourself in the mirror and somebody one day said, oh, your ass is quite big, it looks pretty important, right? Maybe you are a children or you are young and you believe that your ass is terrible, it's really big, right? Maybe it's not, but you believe it. You have an image of your ass in your head. No matter what other people says, this is what you see, right? Most likely, we will see it like with our eyes, like it is truth. That's what it is, right? Being real or not real is because our subconscious mind believes it and makes us trust that that's what it is. So we believe one thing or the other one. It all depends what you put in the mind, in the filter, right? If we put good stuff, this is what we will create. More good stuff, because the subconscious mind is the one that creates it. Is that clear? Questions? Oh, you are so smart. Any question, James?
No questions. I'm smart.
Okay.
No one says my ass is big anyway, so.
Hmm?
No one says my ass is big anyway, so.
To you? To you, you mean?
Yeah, to me.
Oh,
Mhm.
well, that's a good one. Well, I use that one because nobody has a big ass here, so.
I'm glad you said that.
Huh? You have to be careful because, you know, like, you say something, I mean, like, sometimes I have verbal diarrhea, so I have to be careful with what I say.
I'll have to make a note of that. Verbal diarrhea.
Avoid.
Huh?
Avoid verbal diarrhea.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody clear with the one that wants to address first? The emotional habit that wants to address first? The ones that you have on the list that you think that is worth to try? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So, one thing is our mind. Our mind, we cannot see our mind, right? Like our mind is not our brain. Our brain is one thing, is one organ, but that organ only works to put these things together and to make everything work. It's not our thinking, right? Our thinking comes from our mind only. And then we have our brain. We have more trouble managing this one than this one, right? Because this one, we put something in our mouth and affects our brain directly. With this one, no, right? Like that one is more difficult to manage. In order to manage this one, the first step is manage this one. Is when this one gets really strong. So I always say the mind is the spiritual manifestation of the brain, and the brain is the physical manifestation of the mind. When we learn how to manage this one gets easier. Because with this one, we have something that we can, so the stronger our brain is, the stronger the neural pathways are, the stronger our, not neural pathways, no, our neurotransmitters are, neurotransmitters. So our brain creates, grows, makes, manufactures neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are neurons. Neurons are the essence of the neural pathway. A neural pathway, to be reinforced, needs millions of those. Some brains make more than others. For example, kids with ADD and ADHD lack neurotransmitters. That's why it's so difficult for them to stay focused. Or they make too many and then they are single focus. Like they cannot see or listen surroundings. It's because there is a not malfunction, but there is an imbalance of neurons there, right? Those neurotransmitters are the ones that help to create new neural pathways. So if we want to create new neural pathways, we have to increase new neurotransmitters. Whatever you choose, if it's a physical habit or an emotional habit, you need neurotransmitters. Because the more your brain creates neurotransmitters, the easier it gets to have the thought, to repeat the action over and over again. More willpower. How do we create neurotransmitters? James, you know that one.
Cacao.
Can you give some more information?
Oh, okay. Well, cacao is just a superfood that actually does create more neurotransmitters.
Along with?
What do I have it with?
No, along with, because by itself it creates neurotransmitters, but it works best with what?
Works best with.
I will have to
I know.
your report card.
I know. It's dropping.
Is it coconut oil? Is one of the oils?
One of the oils, which one?
I want to say coconut. Avocado? No, I don't know. Coconut? Oh, krill oil.
Oh my God.
That's right. Your favorite oil.
Or what?
Just kidding.
Your
Yeah,
favorite?
cod liver oil. I know. Okay.
We knew this.
We knew that.
Yeah.
You
Or
knew
something.
all the ways. Okay, so cacao, in fact, cacao is the only food that creates neurotransmitters by itself. But those two oils help to stick. We need fatty acids to create the chain with the neurotransmitters. Okay, so cacao is the only food, in fact, that creates new neurotransmitters. It is loaded with vitamin B12 and also magnesium. Magnesium is necessary for the brain, for the central nervous system. So it's very important to have good amounts of that one. Okay.
That's a 10 cacao.
Mhm.
Magnesium is in cacao.
Cacao is the highest source of any other food that contains magnesium on earth. There is no other food that contains more magnesium. Okay, so this one has B12, magnesium, and see if I know how to write this one. Tryptophan. I think it's like this.
Isn't that what's in turkey?
Turkey has tryptophan, so yes, yes. So that helps with the sleep, right?
So sorry.
That's okay. So this one helps with the sleep, helps with relax. So if we put those things together, and also it facilitates calmness, the neurotransmitters to create new neural pathways are stronger. This is chemistry for our brain. Is what, you know, like the brain needs things to create good chemistry, good hormones, good neurons. Okay, fatty acids and cacao. That's all it needs. Actually, there is a brand. It's called Bayerin. Bayerin? I think it's Bayerin. Is a really new thing to treat people with ADHD in a more natural way instead of stimulants, because doctors don't like it that much. They prescribe it because it's called with prescription too, but the stimulants apparently they are used to and they like the stimulant thing. Highly addictive though. Okay, so either or, we want to start with the brain always, because the mind is a little bit more challenging, and then eventually with our good line of thinking and enough brain resilience, we are more prone to do that. When I worked, and this is a very different example, but it works the same way. When I work with one of the organizations that works with one of the nonprofits that is more effective in the south of India, and it was Fundación Vicente Ferrer. That was a missionary that went to India in the early 60s and created this nonprofit there. He was telling us that when he got there, he went there, he was a Catholic missionary to convert Indian people from India to Catholicism. Well, that was their mission, right? Like to convert people. And he said, I'm going to convert these people with empty stomachs. They cannot eat, they cannot think, right? And then he quit being a missionary. And what he did is create this nonprofit that taught thousands of people how to plant different foods, how to create their own businesses, and is one of the most developed areas where they are settled because what his job and what he did. So he taught them how to do wells and save water and all these things. If you are not taught that, how are you going to learn? How are you going to learn if you go to a school and you are not well fed? How are you going to focus, right? This happens here. We don't have to go to India. Schools today have kids that for breakfast they have boxed cereals and sugar, that what it does is kills the neurotransmitters in the brain. Sugar is the only food that deletes neurotransmitters. That's why people is so addictive, because they don't have willpower. Neurotransmitters is the neuron that helps you from having a thought to taking an action. You need thousands of those to take action. If you don't have enough neurotransmitters, you want to quit sugar, but you can't, because you cannot take an action. So sugar is the only thing, the only drug that does that. So when a kid goes at school with a starving brain, it's really difficult to be effective. And it doesn't mean that their stomach is empty. It's just the brain.
So when you say the cacao and the krill and the cod liver oil, the plus, how are you proposing
to take those?
Is that just like a supplement in the morning? Do you have to mix the cacao with krill oil?
No, that's terrible. That's a terrible idea.
I was kind of getting the cacao sounding really good, but then the krill oil kind of
it messed with the whole thing. So krill oil and cod liver oil we will do in pearls. There is this kind of capsules, right? And cacao, because cacao there is no capsule for that. You have to do it in powder. So raw cacao powder, they even sell it in Costco. Everywhere there's cacao powder.
It just has to be raw.
Raw cacao powder.
Doesn't have to be a percentage or anything, or just
no. Cacao is cacao, so it's not chocolate.
It's not. Okay.
Chocolate is made out of cacao, but has other things. Raw cacao is just the cacao bean grounded to powder. And what you do with that is you can do several things. One is added to the coffee. You had it in your coffee this morning. I saw that. You put cacao inside the coffee. Or during the day, you can have like a shake with almond milk and a couple tablespoons of cacao powder there. You do have that one, right?
I do that every day.
Yeah. So you can do it either way, but that's how you do it. Cacao is a thing that you can do at night. So if you have early dinner, let's say you have dinner at 5, and then you are not going to bed until much later, like 5 hours later, your stomach will be empty again. So you are not having a second dinner. You can have one of those shakes. Low calorie content, really good fats for the brain too. And besides that, it has all this good stuff and it helps you to relax and go to sleep. It's really funny because this is very funny. I talk to my mom every day around my 2 p.m. And that's the time that she makes the almond milk with cacao powder, but she's 11 p.m. back home. So she says, oh, I have to talk to you before I take that, because afterwards I just have to go to sleep. I cannot hold it. And I say, Mom, that's just in your head. I mean, seriously, it doesn't happen that fast. But yeah, I mean, like the brain creates the neural pathway that, okay, I'm doing this, that means bedtime. It's not like the product itself does it. I mean, it does a little bit, but the fact that the brain made the connection with, okay, that means bedtime. I like it at night too because of that.
Oh yeah, I thought we were doing it in the morning. Not that I always had
You can do it in the morning or at night. It doesn't matter. What?
I haven't noticed if it makes me
No, it
tired.
doesn't make you tired.
Yeah, okay.
No.
So that's just
Tryptophan,
convenience thing, yeah.
tryptophan to a certain level. Like turkey has more more tryptophans than cacao. Cacao also, some people think that is a stimulant. It's not a stimulant. People think that it has some kind of a stimulant. It doesn't. Yeah. So it's a really good food. It's a really good superfood. Very, very powerful. So krill and cod oil in pearls, and then cacao in powder. And any time is fine. Like everybody chooses. You don't do it at night. Do you do it at night?
No.
During the day?
There's coffee in the morning and in the afternoon. In
Okay.
almond shape.
So a tablespoon each time?
It all depends how you like it.
Mhm.
I mean, if you do the shake, you want to add more because depending the amount of almond milk that you put. If you make like a cup, you won't put 2 tablespoons. You will put 1.
You just put just the milk and cacao, or what else you put in your shake?
Just that.
It all depends what you like. If you like it stronger, you can put more. And if you don't like that it's strong, the cacao is really strong. It's bitter. So you will see. And you will get used to, and then you will be able to put more because you get used to the flavor and you like it. It's like everything. You grow the habit or you don't grow it. Okay? Any more questions about this? Good. Okay, so that's basically it. Okay, so when we have a good, healthy brain, our mind thinks better. We can focus more, we can make a decision and go for it. Okay, so this one is just creating the right thinking. Okay, there you go. Okay, so that's it. Is that being helpful?
Simple as that.
But then there's a lot of, you're kind of leaving off all the work you gotta do.